Welcome, welcome, welcome to Yarwoods Martial Arts Podcast. This is episode number 55. Woo! 55, stay alive. I remember that little phrase. Now we're going faster than that. And last week we started this train of thought, why kids need mentors who will tell them the truth, the power of hard coaching. And we opened it up. We talked a little bit about the hook, about kids don't need another cheerleader. They need a coach who tell them the truth. Then we looked at a little bit about the problem with today's generation and the feel good and how we have to only tell them the good stuff and give them a medal for being number last. And the philosophy of hard coaching, which we equated with belief and accountability. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about the payoff, the challenge, and a call to action for all people, and maybe a couple little add-ons at the end. So welcome, Mr. Yarwood. Thank you so much for being here. The mic is yours.
Yes, sir. So we were talking about kind of like the culture of the way things are going with sports or school or anything that has any type of, competitiveness or advancement or anything like that. And just talking about how, as far as I'm concerned, become soft, right? We're too worried, too scared, too whatever to tell our kids that they're not living up to expectations, that they're not doing the things we're expecting of them. We're just allowing them to kind of go along to get along, and not really, pushing them, forcing them to do the things that are going to be hard for them, forcing them to deal with struggle and disappointment, and understand that, you're not always going to win. As a matter of fact, more often than not, you're not going to win. So when we talk to them about you're always a winner, you're the best, you're this, you're that, it really actually kind of does more damage than good, I think, just because of the fact that they start to get that in their heads that it doesn't really matter what they do, right? I'm going to get praise. I'm going to get pat on the back. I'm going to get clap. I'm going to get a treat. I'm going to get whatever. So what's the point in working hard and trying to be number one if it doesn't matter, right? If the guy who wins first place and the guy who gets 12th place get the same medal, well, who cares? What's the difference, right? What's the point? So we need to be able to tell our kids sometimes, for lack of a better term, that they suck. That's just kind of how it is, right? And they need to hear it. They need to know that we care enough to let them know that they're not doing as well as they should be doing, that they're not a winner. You didn't win. If you weren't first place, you didn't win. There's room for improvement. There's room for growth. And telling you that you're great and you're awesome, you're fantastic, it starts to fall on deaf ears, and it just doesn't do anything for them. So I think we just need to start thinking about how can we change how we speak to our kids, how we talk to them about what they're doing and how they're performing and what their outcome is supposed to be, as opposed to just whatever outcome it is. Good job. So as an instructor, I've removed that phrase from my instructor's vocabulary. Good job. Unless it follows something, right? Because if all you ever say is good job, it has, same thing. It doesn't have any value. Everybody gets the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Well, I think I'm going to jump in here, Mr. Yarwood, because I think you took it one step further in the instructor class that I was in. You spoke about, look, don't just say awesome. Don't say good job. Don't come up to somebody and say, hey, that was great. Tell them, be specific, give them an understanding of what it was that they did do that was a good job, that was accurate, that was, awesome, so that they can then learn and they can create their own brain map of this is what a good job is.
Yep.
This is what awesome is. And it's associated with this and this, not this.
Yep. Yeah, we talk about one of the things we do is we call it the Oreo cookie, but it's praise, correct praise. So like if they're doing a front kick, for example, we praise something specific about the front kick they did. I really like how you got your knee up into the chamber to get that kick. Okay. So that's the praise part. Here comes the correct part. When you did your extension of your kick, you didn't fully straighten your knee, you didn't point your toes, and you didn't pivot your base foot when you kick. So let's try this again. I want you to pick your knee up like you did, which was the good part, and then work on all the other stuff that we did. And then when they do it, you say, okay, you listen to me. I appreciate that. You look good doing these things. So that way they know exactly what it is you're looking for. If I were to just say, I see them do a front kick, and I see them get their knee up, but the rest of it sucks, and I just say, good job. Good job what? Right? They don't learn from it. They don't get anything from it. There's no value to it. They think that what they did was good and they don't have to work on it. Because Mr. Yarwood said, good job, so I must be doing it right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, I think it's a slippery slope to not be specific and to leave, because the other side of that is that I think, oh wow, I just did this, so he must be talking about that, and I did a good job. Well, no, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about this. But unless we're specific, we don't get to know that, and we don't see where the praise is justifiable. And we could get stuck with doing something that's not good.
Yep. Yeah, because we didn't know what it is that was good. Right. There's no clear understanding of what it is. It becomes very vague. And I think being able to, as a parent, as an instructor, as a teacher, as a coach, having the ability to tell your students, your kids, your players, whatever it is, being able to actually come out and tell them what they need to hear helps them. It builds confidence that they know that, hey, this is an area where I'm good. Here's an area where I'm not good. Here's the things I need to work on to get these areas up to this area. Right? And if we're not willing to tell it like it is, we're doing them a disservice. We need to be bold in understanding that, you know what, they may not like us. And that's okay. They don't have to like us. But they need to learn from us. They need to understand what we're trying to teach them so that they can take that and use it going forward. But if our goal is for them to get them to like us, then you're looking at it from way wrong angle, right? You can give them a piece of candy and say, hey, they like me now. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Very accurate.
And I think too.
Oh, hold on a second. This is a good one here. There's so many kids that barely get a pat on the back at home. Sometimes hearing good job is the only thing that keeps them going. Connection before correction.
I've already connected with them. That's the point. The connection has been made, right? You can make a connection by talking to a kid, finding out a little bit about him, what makes him tick, what makes him happy, what makes him smile, right? You don't have to, if it's just a good job, pat on the back, whatever it is, fine. But if that's where it ends, then there's no value in it, right? You got to continue on with it. That connection is now made. Now you strengthen that connection. You strengthen the value of that relationship with them so that you can get to the point where you can tell them things that they need to hear, even if they don't like it. But if all you ever give them as a pat on the back every single time they do something, and that's your connection, it's a very weak connection.
Well, and
it's a start, but it can't end there.
yeah, and I think to this person, and Angel, thank you for participating. Um, one of the things that I definitely see is missing in homes, right, is an acknowledgement. If you give somebody,
Yep.
if you give a kid a pat on the back, what for? What are you giving them a pat on the back for?
Mm-hmm.
Once again,
Yep.
Here's another, episode for us where we're saying in martial arts, we do this, and here's why. Now,
Mm-hmm.
doing this at home will have the same impact, and
Yep.
we've set it up for you for success.
Yep.
There's a reason we're doing this. You already have a connection at home, right? And if you're missing that connection, that's a whole different issue. That's a whole different animal for us to take a look at. I spent 10 years in an organization where the senior 53 leaders traveled the world leading this program, and they were gone for sometimes 4 weeks, back home for a week, maybe 2, and gone for 4 all year. And they did this over and over. And one of the things that I learned in my discussions with them in looking at, so how do you have your family be okay with you being gone, like at that level? And this is, for me, it's not about the quantity of time. I'm going to go right back to what we've already been discussing now. It's the quality.
Yep.
And the quality of that time is determined by how explicit are we? How interactive are we? How are we sharing? Hey, I heard you did really well in school the other day. Okay, well, what the heck does that mean?
Yep. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
What did you do well in?
Yep. So
and why?
The kid gets to then explain it at another level. But if one parent says to the other parent, hey, yeah, our kid did a great job in class today. Well, what do you mean? What class was it? How did he do a good job? How can I acknowledge him or her in a powerful way that then adds value and creates connection?
Yep.
And that can happen in a fraction of a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, connecting with my students is a daily occurrence. I connect with my goal is to speak to every single one of my students every time they're there about something specific to them. I learn about them. I learn about what they like in school. I learn about what they like to do for fun. I all kinds of stuff, right? And then the next time I talk to them about that specific thing, and then like at the beginning of class, I say, how's everybody doing today? And they say, oh, I don't allow the answer good because it has no value, right? You're doing good today? Okay, great. How was school today? Good. How was dinner? Good. How was football? Good. How was your vacation? Good. Right? There's nothing there. There's no substance. So I always make sure that they understand that I'm looking for something. I want them to think about what made it good, what made it fun, what made it exciting, what made it bad, whatever it is. So they start to think about how they process what it is that they're doing, how are they doing in school? Why are they getting C's instead of B's? What is it that they're doing that's making it that happen, right? Talking to them about what's going on with them, connecting that way instead of if I just go up to them and say, hey, I heard you had a math test today. How'd it go? Good. Hey, good job. And then move on. What was that? There was nothing there. That's not even a connection. You know what I mean? I want to know. Oh, you had a math test today. How'd you do? I did good. What do you mean good? What is good to you? right? Did you get 9 out of 10? Did you get 20 out of 30? I mean, what is good? And then having them think about, okay, Mr. Yarwood is going to be asking me questions, right? I don't stop at one question because it's never enough, right? So I got them now thinking, if I'm coming up to them, they're thinking about, okay, what's he going to ask me, and how do I need to answer it? Because that makes them understand that I care about what they're doing, right? I want to be part of, that little part of their life, so I can relate with them and make that connection with them. And they know that every time I talk to them, I'm asking them something specific about them that they're doing, right? And whether it's, something positive, or maybe they're struggling with something, right? There's always going to be something there. And if they're just trying to avoid answering the question, then they know it's going to get even deeper. But I always tell them, hey, this is how I operate. You guys already know what I do, right? I'm not satisfied with just good job. That doesn't do it for me. Or I had fun. Oh, okay, you had fun. Good. Fun doing what? Right? So them understanding that a pat on the back from me means way more than just a pat on the back. There's way more to it. Way more than a good job note, right? So when they start thinking in those terms, they can take that word when they go to school, when they go home, and then they start talking to mom and dad that way too, right? Mom and dad get more involved in that because they're starting to think more about what they're doing in school, what they're doing in other sports, what they're doing in other activities and whatnot, versus just, dropping them off, picking them up, hearing they did a good job. Oh, okay. The same thing every single day. Good job. How was soccer practice? Good job. I did good today. Oh, okay, good job. And then they go home. So it's just a matter of making them start to process what they're doing and be able to relate it and be able to express it and experience it. Makes it way more valuable.
One of the other things is that I see a lot is that there is not a lot of education around how to do what you and I are talking about. Right? Where does somebody learn it?
Right.
Do we, I haven't taken all the classes to be a teacher. I've taken several, when I was in college, and I've asked teachers this, and my question has been, one, the age old one, where do you learn common sense? And secondly, where do you learn how to acknowledge a person in such a way that it makes a difference?
Yeah.
And, I look at it as, in today's society, in today's age of media and social media and all of this boohacky, there are so many times and places and opportunities to uplift people, for people to be able to see, to be able to hear, to be able to learn, that are missed opportunities. And I think parents owe it to their children. They owe it to their children to be in communication, be responsible for, hey, how do you want to be acknowledged? What do you want to be acknowledged for today? What can you see is the next level for you to take on in this arena or in this arena? And really creating that opportunity.
Our role as parents specifically parents, is we're always on, right? Every time we're interacting with our kid, it can be a learning experience. It can be a learning moment. It can be anything, right? I don't take for granted the moments that I spend with my kid. I'm always trying to find something of value in the times that we interact, because I'm still his dad. He's 19 years old, but I'm still his dad. He can still learn, right? He's still learning from me. And me, that's probably the most important job I have. And if I don't take the opportunities that arise to help him, to teach him, um, he's I'm failing. He's missing out, right? If I take for granted all these times I'd spend with him, but I don't, there's nothing there beyond, not that spending time with him, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying there's always opportunities for learning, right? And as the parent, as his dad, that's my job, is to give him the experience, the knowledge, the understanding, the confidence, the everything to take out into the real world and be a productive person. And part of that is sometimes telling him, he's not just like me, just like you. Sometimes he fails.
Yeah.
But I have to acknowledge that. I have to let him know, hey, that was. But as a parent, doesn't matter. And when you find those opportunities and that to teach them, to let them know that it's not always yes, it's not always you're the best, it's not always you're great, it's not always good job. Sometimes it's, that was.
Yeah, I think you know, there's a myth out there that we can't say this because it's politically incorrect or it's not viable or that we've got to protect it. We can't, if somebody hears us say this, it's going to land wrong, and then we're going to have to defend ourselves, and we're going to have to be careful with what we say and how we say it because it's of gender or because of race or any of these things. And I look at it very differently, and that is, especially in the martial arts world, it has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the simple fact that something is being communicated to somebody that is doing or performing a certain thing based on this is the homework, this is the training, this is the take home, this is part of your agreement to be at work and be productive at work, or to be in school, in class, and be productive. Why? Because you're representing, a modality and a set of integrity and ethics and all of these things when you're walking around as a student of Yarwoods martial arts and being responsible for that. And you could say, hey, you're the son of Mr. and Mrs. X, and you represent Mr. and Mrs. X. So if Mr. and Mrs. X are creating the boundaries and creating the opportunities for you to live inside of these boundaries, and here's why, that's awesome. They're paying enough attention to you creating these moral grounds. So I like the fact that, encouraging parents to seek truth, to seek people that tell them the truth, teachers, coaches, not comfort givers. Don't tell me, oh, your student is so blah, 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 and then give them a C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
but
like,
I thought my kid was great.
yeah. It's like, no, here's an opportunity to level up. So, it's one of the reasons that I love doing the training that I do at the ice cream shops that we have. Right? Is because I want these kids to get a head start on life, to have a step up from the rest of the world in their understanding, their common sense, these items.
Yeah, I think it's important for kids coming up to have positive mentors, people who are a role model for them. But like you said, they're not going to be somebody who just coddles them along the way, says, okay, all right, they're going to let them know, hey, here's the deal. If you want to be this person, or if you want to be in this profession, or if you want to do this thing, these are the things you need to do. They're not going to be easy. They might not be fun. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to suck. But the only way to get to where you want to go is to do the things. You're going to fail. You're going to be third place. You're going to be eighth place. You're going to be 20th place. You might not finish. But I'm not going to tell you you're great when you're not. That's plain and simple. You're going to get the praise that you deserve. And it's not always going to be the highest praise. Sometimes it might be, well, you know what? I don't know, right? You're going to get something, but it's not always going to be your way up here all the time. Everybody can't be up here all the time. There's no room up there. And, if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, but that's life. That's where you're going to learn.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's, I like the YMA philosophy. We don't build comfort, we build character.
You want comfort? Go to the home furniture.
Yep. And I don't think there are any conversations that cannot be had with a student today.
I try and let them know that, if you're struggling with stuff, it doesn't have to be martial arts related. If you're struggling with a bully, if you're struggling with school, if brothers and sisters are messing with you, whatever it is, whatever you're dealing with, I'm open to having that conversation with you and just seeing if I can help you.
My visit.
Apparently, Remy thinks the podcast is done.
How you doing there, buddy? Too funny. Wow. Well, I could definitely tell he's been on a cold floor because his feet are cold. I know. I think this was a really good I think that there's the truism of this, right, is when you succeed and you look back and you can come to your coach and say, thank you for being hard on me, because I know that I would not have passed that milestone without that push, without that dedication, without that stand.
Yep. I look back on all the people who've had influence on me. Let's go the football route. The coaches who had the most influence on me were the ones who busted my ass, made me work. Right? I don't want a coach who's just gonna come out there and clap his hands and say good job and then leave again. What did he do for me? I didn't learn anything. I want that coach that comes out there and gets in my face and says, that was not the best play I've seen you do. I know you can do better. I need you to get your ass to the other side of the field and do it right this time. If you don't do it right, you're going to sit your butt on the bench and we're going to bring somebody else in who can do it. That's better than, it was pretty good. I mean, I know, you didn't get the interception. The guy scored the touchdown on you, but that's okay. It happens. No, I don't want that. Tell me what I did wrong. Help me fix it. Let's do this. And those are the guys who stand out to me the most. Those are my coaches who, when they pushed me, they helped develop me into having that attitude of don't quit, never give up. Fix it if there's a problem. Don't avoid the hard stuff. That's where the learning is. That's where the success is. It's not in the good job, pat on the back, and move on stuff. It's in the I'm going to kick your butt if you don't do it right.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and parents
Definitely.
Stop shielding your kids. Let them have the challenges.
Yep. Give them guardrails, not a helicopter.
Yeah. I like your one statement here. Growth requires discomfort. Pressure builds diamonds.
Yep.
So, well, with that, we've reached our time. I want to thank each and everybody for popping in and sharing time with us today. Thank you, Mr. Yarwood. I think it was a great opportunity to have kids start to understand what are mentors and why.
Yep.
Why.
Yep.
So with that,
go get uncomfortable. Go find discomfort and then fix it.
Yeah. All right. Well, sneak peek, the black belt myth, what it really means to earn one, coming up.